there's a lot of discussion around mindfulness and meditation and consciousness, and look, I'm not here to rewrite any definition, and I'm not even sure what the Webster's dictionary version is, but to me meditation is a practice that can be considered spiritual, whereby you focus your mind continually on whether it be a sensation or a mantra over an extended period of time in a way that really just frees the body up to release all of the tension and the energy that's being held and stored inside. So to me, the definition of meditation is, engaging in a practice that builds the ability to focus on something that allows the body to resolve tension, resolve emotions, and create a greater state of homeostasis. If I was explaining it to a 4-year-old, I'd be like, right, it's a game of catching yourself being distracted. Your goal right now is to say this word over and over and over, or to focus on your lip and feel your breath, or focus on your hands, or I'd say to a kid, close your eyes now and tell me what part of your body you can feel. Like, what's the most obvious sensation you can feel? And I'd be right, focus on that. And the game is to focus on that for as long as you can. And anytime you get distracted, the game is to catch yourself. And when you catch yourself, you go back to the sensation, or you go back to the mantra. And so the game is to catch yourself getting distracted. I'm eternally blessed by the parents that were given to me for a whole range of reasons, but especially my mum. Like, my mum's always been left of centre. We've been through 3 religions and something that was pretty much a cult. And my mum was always searching for answers. She was searching for information. She was, in many ways, well ahead of her time when it came to being into personal development. And so I'm not sure if I was taught Reiki or if my mum discovered that my hands were really good at making her feel better. And as a result, she then used to get me to use my hands to heal things, her friends and everything else, and she just called it Reiki. Because she discovered, and she even tells the story, I don't know, I was 3 or 4 and she had period pain, and I come up and said, oh, Mummy, I'll put my hands on it and make it all better. And I literally touched her stomach and the pain left. And so whenever she had a pain, an ache, whatever, she'd wheel me out. Friends came over, they got a headache. Oh, my son can heal that. But it was interesting. It was very interesting. It started off as prayer in our house. I would pray, twice a day. And prayer became a really big part of our life for a very, very long time. And then as we evolved as a family, my mum moved more into the Buddhist aspects of religion, or the Buddhist style of religion, and with that came, a greater focus on meditation. I still remember when I was I think I was maybe 13 or 14, my mum used to run little meditation circles at her home with some of her clients. And then I I went away from it for a little while. I went on my own journey. I moved out of home. I got myself in a whole bunch of trouble, got involved in drugs and violence, and then got myself, a little bit shipshape. And, through my journey of finding myself and getting myself back on track, I attracted a whole range of different mentors. And there was one mentor specifically that I attracted that introduced me not only to reintroduced me to meditation, but also introduced me to fasting. And I'm very grateful to this day for Peter for doing that. And the first style of meditation that I was actually reintroduced to, because all the meditation I'd done up until that point was very pop meditation. It was like, oh, let's sit down, close your eyes, listen to my voice and follow the wave. It was very guided meditation. And I think, guided meditations are a great way it's a good gateway. And up until that point, that's pretty much most of the meditation I had done. And then I got this harebrained idea that I was going to go and do it properly, and I went and did Vipassana. And Vipassana, in Sanskrit means to see things as they really are. And it's a very different type of meditation, but the short version is it's 11 days long. You take a vow of silence for the first 10 days. They segregate the men and the women. You can't look at anyone. You can't talk to anyone. And they sound a gong at 4:15. You're in a temple meditating by 4:30 a.m. And then your last meditation and discourse finishes at about 9:30, 9:45 that night. And you do that for 11 days straight. Now, I don't know if you can imagine what it's like to be around 20, 30, 50 people, and no one's looking at each other, no one's talking to each other, and all you're doing is trying to meditate. And meditation, in essence, and I joke about this, is sitting down in a quiet place and thinking about your problems. Because when you try and meditate, that's the first time I did Vipassana, I swear to God, I spent 11 days with my eyes closed thinking about sex, cars, and money. all the problems that I was having with the chicks. I was trying to buy a Porsche at the time, and I was having all sorts of fucking dramas with it. And you know, there was a few curly things going on in business. So literally every day I'd sit there and meditate and go, oh fuck, I need to get this car sorted. Oh fuck, you know, I got this chick thing. Or oh Jesus, I got this business thing. And like literally my first experience of meditation in a structure, it was fucking horrible. It was 11 days of torture. And I came away thinking, I'm never fucking doing that again. Like that was just reckless, that was wrong. But what was really interesting is when I went back into everyday life, the first thing I noticed is I couldn't go into a shopping centre. It took me a week to be able to go into a shopping centre without being overwhelmed with physical presence and sensation and energy and everything else. And I started to notice that I was sleeping better, I was thinking clearer, I was sharper, my speaking was more on, and I started to realise, wow, I didn't just sit there for 11 days and think about my problems, you know, I actually got some benefit. And I remember, it was day 12, I got back, I was sitting in my living room on the Gold Coast, and I literally started to think about all the things all the different topics that I had to speak about at that time. And back then, you know, this is going back almost 20 years ago, whenever I would speak, I'd always write myself, you know, bullet points and a script, so I had something there. And I was just sitting there reciting every piece of content in my head, going through it as if I was reading it off the paper, but I wasn't reading it off the paper. And I just remember thinking to myself, I remember thinking, holy shit, I've unlocked the vault. It was almost like I've had this filing cabinet full of information, and all of a sudden someone gave me the keys, and I opened it. I was like, fuck, look at all this cool shit inside. And I was remembering all this stuff, and I was going, this is amazing, this is incredible. And I was blown away, and I was like, this is awesome. So 6 months later, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna do this again. By the evening, it was either the evening or day one or the morning of day two, I'm sitting there going, what the fuck am I doing? Why didn't you learn the first time? But I persisted, and I ended up going back in total 7 times, you know, over it's probably a 3-4 year period. That's 77 days of solitude. That's 77 days of isolation. That's 77 days of total introspection, and in many ways, a form of meditative torture. Like I call Vipassana the full contact meditation of the meditation realm, because it's tough, it's hard. In many ways, it's brutal. You know, they might start with 50 people, but they lose in most cases. It's like buzz training for SEALs. They'll start with 50 people, but by day 11, there's like 30, because you know, almost 50% of people break. And by break, I mean they either can't do it because they go, this is too much, or they literally mentally break and they go, fuck, I'm just not mentally prepared for this. And after 7 times of doing that, something in my head was just bent, but it was bent in a good way. And I just found myself just not thinking the same, not talking, everything changed. But I found it really difficult to maintain the practice. And what I discovered since then is Vipassana is what they call a monastic, I think is the word, or monastic, which is basically a style that was, you know, derived and created to teach monks, you know, because the Vipassana style is you do an hour in the morning and you do an hour in the evening. That's a lot, right? That's 2 hours out of your day. And so I always found it really difficult to maintain the discipline. And then I found transcendental or Vedic meditation. And that changed the game for me, because it was a lot more gentle, it was a lot kinder, it was mantra based, it was 20 minutes, and here's the interesting part, it's 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And now almost every time I do it, I'll do an hour to 3 hours in the morning, and easily, you know, half an hour to an hour in the evenings when I do it. But what's interesting is that it suits, you know, I say this to people, whether it's diet, training, exercise, a partner, it's not a one size fits all. And the meditation is also in that realm. You know, I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think it's like Baskin Robbins. You've got to go and try a few different styles. I encourage everyone to try a guided app, you know, as a great way, as a great introduction. But, you know, for me, what I do now in my meditation is I actually do a combination of Vedic and Vipassana. So Vedic is mantra. So you go down with mantra, focus on a mantra. Oh, I'm distracted, come back to the mantra. And the goal is to make that mantra eventually become obsolete and an echo in your mind, because the mantra all of a sudden gets replaced with emptiness, and there's no mantra, there's just empty space. But the mantra gets you there. Whereas Vipassana, it's all about, it's to, you know, the Sanskrit meaning is to see things as they really are. And what you discover through Vipassana, which is sensation-based meditation, you know, you start off with Anapana, which is becoming aware of this little triangle below the nose. And, you know, at first you go, you know, I'd say to anyone, you know, breathe right now through your nose gently, and can you feel anything? And most people go, no. But after 3 days of spending, like the first 3 days of Vipassana, is 4:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, focusing on that. Can you fucking imagine? So after 3 days, this thing's like a clitoris. It's sensitive, right? It's super sensitive, and all of a sudden you're like, fuck, it tickles, and you have all this sensation. And then when they give you Vipassana, the gift of Vipassana is going, okay, now I want you to take that awareness of sensation, and I want you to cast it over your entire body. Let's start at the crown, and let's sweep and us. Start down, we'll move down towards the head, around the skull, around the ears, around the temples, around the cheeks. Okay, and what you're doing is going, can I feel sensation? Can I feel my ears? I can feel my ears. Can I feel my cheeks? Can I feel my jaw? Can I feel my neck? Can I feel my chest, shoulders? You're literally, you're scanning your body with your mind, observing the sensation. And you feel tingles, you feel pain, you feel tension, you feel levels of relaxation. But your goal is not to respond or react, it's just observe. You observe the sensation, you observe the sensation. And what eventually happens is, first of all, you start to realize that all emotions essentially have some form of a sensory base, because you might be continually distracted by something. Like, I know I've noticed this many times in my meditations with Vipassana. I might be getting this distraction coming in, car, sex, business, whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm getting this pain in my back, and the distraction will get worse and worse, and the pain will get more and more and more. And I'll just like breathe, observe, just observe, don't react, don't respond, don't apply a label, just observe it for what it is. It says energy changing form, and then all of a sudden, poof, the pain will go, and then you just fucking drop into this deep state of meditation. Because what I've discovered is, like, when we release stuff, when we release emotion from the body, it typically will have a physical expression, and that physical expression has a neurological connection, and it's a loop, and once it's gone, the neurology is free. And so I love the aspect of the sensation, because what you get to the point after, I don't know, everyone's different, but let's call it maybe a couple of weeks of meditation in Vipassana, where you start to realize my body is nothing more than a mass of vibrating cells. Because you literally get to the point where it's like, okay, I can feel the tip of my toe right now, I can feel my belly button, I can feel my anus, I can feel my butt cheek. You can literally go to any point in your body and you can go, I can feel that part of my body, but I can feel it's not actually physical, it's energetic. Because when you feel it, you go, okay, I can feel that part, but what I feel more than anything else is the sensation of vibration. It's a sensation of that fluid nature of energy, how it looks real, it feels real, but when I tune into it, it just feels like something's buzzing. Does that make sense? So for me now, when I meditate, I love the mantra. It's so practical, it's so easy, and whenever I get distracted, I'll take a nice deep breath and bring myself back on. But what I often find myself doing is I'll alternate between sensation and mantra. And so for me, my hands are constantly on fire. And by on fire, not in a painful sense, they're just tingling constantly. So for me, I heal with my hands, I touch with my hands, I serve with my hands, but I also use my hands in many respects as a way to, if I'm getting myself a little distracted and the breathing is not bringing me back, I'll just focus on my hands. But I also use my sensation to come out. So I might go down for an hour and a half, I might go down for 20 minutes, but once I go down and I go, okay, I'm going to come out now, then I'll focus on this physical sensation and I'll come out with physical sensation. So it's a little bit of a hybrid. I should patent it and call it Kerwin dental meditation, but I think we're a long way off that. When you understand, I guess, the neurological and the biological and the neurochemical impacts of meditation, you start to understand why you are able to sleep better. I sleep better. I think better. My recall and my memory are off the charts. My ability to drop into flow is, in most cases, unmatched by most people in my field. My ability to feel empathy, my ability to connect with my body and actually listen to my intuition, because a lot of people, the seat of intuition is in our body. It's not in the brain. The seat of intuition is in our heart. It's in our body. And so, we interpret intuition through our brain. The heart sends 16 times more information to the brain sends to the heart. We're not receiving intuition in the brain, we're receiving it in the heart. It's being sent to every organ in our body and also the brain. And the brain is the intellectual interpreter of that information. But in most cases, we don't even need to, like for me personally, I've almost moved past trying to intellectually interpret my intuitions, and I just trust them. I don't try and fucking work it out. I just go, okay, that's what my body's telling. It's not what I don't go, oh, that's what my heart is telling. Oh, that's what it's like, okay, what feels right? Doesn't feel right, don't do it. Okay, I trust that feeling now. And it's taken me, let's call it 25 years to get to a point now where I don't argue with it, I don't question it, I don't go against it, because I've had my ass kicked so many times by not listening that now I do listen. And what happens in the brain is the brain literally starts to create a greater level of harmony. You know, it almost has meditation has many psychedelic properties whereby it starts to get neurons that haven't communicated connecting and communicating. It starts to get the left and the right hemisphere of the brain start communicating in a more holistic and a more whole function. And when that happens, like, there's all sorts of biological, neurological, biochemical and neurochemical responses that happen. As a result, cortisol drops, DHEA rises, growth hormone rises, hormone levels, you know, either elevate or balance and harmonize, and the list goes on. Immune function raises, IQ raises, and you could even, you know, going as far as a stress measurement, you know, cortisol being one of them, stress lowers. There is so many fucking benefits of meditation that, and the best part is, it's free. You know, yeah, maybe you have to pay $1,500 to learn it if you're doing, you know, Transcendental or Vedic. You know, Vipassana is by donation. But there's that many apps now that you can either download for free or otherwise, or read a book and just work it out. The shit's free. It has anti-aging properties. People who meditate for 3 years, on average, lower their cellular age by between 5 to 7 years. So if you can meditate consistently for 3 years, 3 years from now, you'll actually be 4 years younger, biologically. It's nuts. And it only takes 4 days of meditation for there to be a significant, measurable improvement in performance. Not mild, not moderate, not anecdotal, significant and measurable. 4 days.
Kerwin sells meditation.
Which is why I brought you today the Kerwin Dental Meditation app.
This is the trailer.
Yeah, this is the trailer, boys and girls. A mantra is something that's very personal. It's not something that they go to a book and they just give you. The master will, you know, will obviously, you know, I guess you could call it connect with, channel through, allow to come, whatever that mantra is supposed to be for that individual. It's actually quite private. Yeah. But what I will tell you is it totally fucked with my head. I won't tell you what the sound of the mantra is exactly, but what I will tell you, it is the sound. It is similar to one of the most annoying and triggering sounds that I know. When my master gave me the mantra, I literally burst out laughing and I said to him, "You're fucking kidding." Because it sounded like a telephone ringing. And I fucking hate telephones. And I was like, "You've got to be fucking kidding." Like, oh, I was like, "You've got to be kidding." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "I fucking hate the sound of a telephone." He goes, "Then that's why it's yours." And I was just like, "Fuck." All right, and so I took it on. And so, you know, it's given, but what's interesting is I had another friend of mine, he got given a mantra, and he wasn't happy with it. Similar to me, he's like, "I don't like this mantra." So he went back and got another one. I can't meditate. Why? I get distracted all the time. That's like saying to someone, "I can't train at the gym." And I say, "Why?" "Because every time I lift a weight, it fucking hurts." It's like, it's supposed to, bro. Like, that's what I laugh when people say, "Oh, I'm not really, my mind isn't built to meditate." Why? It's just, well, it's really busy. It's like, meditation was built for you. That's why it was built for you. And I think the biggest misconception with meditation is they think it's just something that it's easy and everyone can do it. And if you can't, then it's not meant for you. You know, it's not like Cinderella's shoes that only fits certain people. It fits everybody, but most people's feet are fucking swollen from, you know, bad habits, bad thinking, and so when they put those shoes on for the first time, there's blisters. It's annoying. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. They walk 10 meters and it hurts. You know, but once you get your mind and your body healthy and your feet start to, you know, become, the inflammation is released and resolved, all of a sudden you can walk 20 meters. And then a week later you can work 30 meters and 40 meters, and 2 weeks later you can run a fucking marathon in those same shoes that annoyed the shit out of you when you first put them on. And see, and that's why I think meditation is so important to be introduced as early as possible, because in many ways it is an incredibly powerful yet gentle way to introduce resilience and grit. Because in many respects, what is required to be able to meditate or maintain a high level of practice is that commitment and consistency to push through the discomfort. The reason people don't like to meditate is it's not fucking comfortable to sit in your own shit. You know, it's not comfortable to sit there and go, "Okay, don't think about anything, don't think about anything. Oh fuck, I've got to make a car payment, my husband called me, there's a prick this morning," like whatever. And all of a sudden all the shit pops in and go, "This is horrible. I don't want to do this. I don't want to sit in my stew of shit." And it's like, well, no, what you've got to understand is you need to simmer for a little bit in order for them to reduce. Does that make sense? So you might be sitting in a world of fucking stew, a shit stew when you first start, but what's going to happen is you let that simmer and it's going to reduce. And there's going to be less shit and less shit and less shit. And you know, so people say to me, oh, your meditations must be amazing now. I go, so I'm having some of my toughest, I've been meditating for like 20 odd years and I am still having some of my toughest meditations. You get the meditation you need, not the meditation that you want. You know, and that's where, again, a misconception is, or if you go to the gym, it's going to get easier. No, it actually gets harder because you get stronger, so you lift more weights. You do things that are more complicated. You do things that are harder. And with meditation, it's not that there's a level of complexity that is introduced, but you just start releasing. It's understanding that you are an onion, and meditation is the process of peeling back the layers that we have developed over a course of our lives. But what we've got to understand, for every layer that you pull off, while you're pulling off a layer, you're probably putting 3 down. So there's always another layer. And you're never finished. You're never done. And when you are, your ticket will get punched and you'll be on to the next ride in this galaxy, you know, or this another dimension that we live in. And so for me, the biggest misconception is meditation isn't for everyone. And it fucking well is. It's like good nutrition isn't for everyone. It bloody well is. Good nutrition saves lives. Meditation saves lives. It saves marriages. It saves businesses. It has huge ramifications. And so, yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest myth. For me, one of the reasons I love Transcendental or Vedic over Vipassana, Vipassana is very rigid. It's very strict. You know, it's posture, it's extension. It's like, you know, it's quite proper. Vedic, bro, it's for the householder. So, you know, they're not so strict. You can lean up against a wall, you can lean up against a pillow. You know, you don't lay down, but you can, and with, you know, because I've got a bit of a chunky body, and so for me, you know, holding a posture like this for an hour, like I'm burning calories, bro. Right now? Yeah. Like, versus if I can lean back, it gives me much greater potential to release tension, not create it. Because when I'm holding like this, I'm creating tension in my body and I'm very aware of that. And yes, I've got to the point where I can condition myself, but for me, it's just not comfortable. And that's why I like the Vedic interpretation, is that it's about just get comfortable, find a spot that's comfortable. So for me, my practice is, you know, I wake up, I'll normally go to the toilet, wash my face, and I'll come back to bed and I'll put some pillows behind me and I'll sit up, put my hands together, and I'll start by focusing on my hands. Take a nice deep breath, breathe out, focus on the sensation across the tip of my lip, and then to start rolling my mantra. Ring, 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 ring. That's not it, but I'm just trying to be funny right now. You know, let's just call it, and here's a mantra that anyone can use, and it was actually the very first mantra that I used before I was taught meditation. Om. 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 Now you're not saying it out loud, you're saying it in your head. And it's just sitting there like Om, 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 Om. Now the good thing is, it's really hard to forget the script because it's the same word over and over. Because people, I can't remember my mantra. Like, you've got to be fucking with me, right? And that's it, like literally. And then a thought will pop in, and again, thoughts are like clouds. You know, they'll float on in, and our goal is to go, there's a cloud. This too shall pass, just let it go. Because the more you go, fuck, there's a cloud, the cloud doesn't move, it'll just stay there. So your goal is to just observe the cloud. Don't react to the cloud, don't respond to the cloud, don't give the cloud more narrative, don't feed the fucking clouds. It should be a sign, don't feed the clouds. And just observe it and watch it pass through. Take a deep breath, come back to Om, Om, Om. Sounds so hippie. But yeah, you can just go back to the mantra. And then I normally have my phone over here. I'll normally have the time on it, and then I'll normally after an hour or so I'll peek and I'll see how much time I've got left, and then when I know I've got 10 minutes left, then I'll start focusing on the sensation of hands. Sometimes I'll do a complete hand sensation meditation. Sometimes I'll do sweep and mass, but most of it is mantra and hands and anapana. Do you know where Om comes from?
No.
It's the base frequency of the universe. And so when you're using Om, when you're Oming, you are tuning into the base frequency of the universe and equilibrating. I discovered this completely by accident. It was probably I think I was like maybe 20, and I was going to do a time management presentation at an accounting firm. 23 maybe, I can't remember. It was early days in my consulting career, and it was the first time I'd done a presentation in a very long time. My previous business had failed. I had all sorts of baggage that I was carrying, and I was nervous as fuck, and I was driving out to do this presentation to 20 accountants who worked in a house. It was a home-based accounting firm that had 20 accountants. It was a massive house, and the whole way there was just and I couldn't talk, I couldn't think, but instinctively I just started not screaming it, but saying it out loud, Om, but really I was like, Om, and I was just really getting in and really diving deep, and by the time I got there, I literally felt like a new guy, and I was like, holy shit. And so whenever I got nervous from then on in, whether I was speaking, whatever, I just used that. And then that kind of, it was not long after that I found Vipassana, and yeah, that's how the story goes. Om. I would say my most incredible meditation was the morning I interviewed Vanessa Lapointe in Vancouver. I was meditating in my hotel room, and I literally had what I'd refer to as the closest thing to a transcendental moment. Like, I literally had a psychedelic moment where all of a sudden I transcended, and this is a little challenging unless you've got any experience with plant medicine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, maybe even LSD or DMT, and the interesting thing now, what they're finding is how similar the effects of these practices are. Like, what they're discovering now, like for example with microdosing with psychedelics, they're actually saying, and the experts are saying, microdosing is for people that are too lazy to meditate, because it is essentially doing almost the same thing to the brain. And so my assumption is, based on all the scripture and the history that I've read, is when you achieve a level of practice that allows you to transcend, you literally transcend this time and space, which to the layman might sound really unusual unless you've had some kind of a psychedelic experience, whether it be with plant medicine or or something else. And I can tell you, as someone that has used plant medicine for ethical and moral purposes to heal, the correlation is there's no separation. Like, I had a moment where I literally left my body, and I could say the only thing that I could closely relate it to was a psychedelic experience. And I was going, and I literally in that moment was like, shit, this is what the yogis, this is what the dudes are, this is what all the dudes and this is what all the monks have been talking about. And that's what they talk about, and a lot of medicine men will say this, what psychedelics do is they give you a window into what's possible without them. And that gave me that glimpse, because up until that point I'd been meditating for 20 years and I'd never had a transcendent. I had bliss and feelings of elevation and freedom and de-stress, but I'd never had that moment where all of a sudden I entered into a new dimension, a new reality that was happening while my eyes were closed, which is quite common when it comes to the use of plant medicine.
You got high.
Baby got high. I would say meditation is for everybody. And to people who are skeptical of meditation, I'd say just go and look at the research. You can't argue with the science. You can't, I'm not sure if he's still the chair, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, maybe we'll pop it up here. But one of the guys who's the chairman for the International Federation for Transcendental Meditation is actually one of the world's top renowned physicists. And when you hear him define and explain all the science, skeptic what? You're not a skeptic, you're septic, bro. Because your thinking is tainted, and if you're someone that requires facts, the data's there. If you're someone that doesn't require facts, you're more experiential, then practice. But what I will say is, anyone who practices for long enough will become convinced. It's like anyone who trains for long enough will become convinced. Anyone who eats the right foods for long enough will become convinced. The question is how important is your conviction once it's been achieved? Because you might be convinced that meditation works. Convinced is the root word of conviction. So you might have a level of conviction, but if your conviction to drink wine every night, so you wake up feeling shit and you really don't want to meditate in the morning, if you're more convicted or convinced you should be drinking wine, then you won't meditate. It's a matter of prioritizing values. And for anyone that understands the value in meditation, but you're not practicing meditation, then you've got to start connecting the benefits of meditation to the things that are actually important to you. You know, and so I've actually worked with clients, no kidding, I've worked with clients that are high functional addicts, and they use meditation as a way to justify their drug use because it counteracts some of the deficits that the drug use will create. So what he's done is he's got such a high value on using substance. The value of meditation wasn't so high, but he created a deal with himself whereby he can use substance only if he meditates. And so as a result, he realizes, well, hang on, but if I use substance and I meditate, it actually regulates the deficits of some of the, you know, the consequences of addiction. And so he hacked it, and I was sitting back going, fucking hats off, bro. That's super smart. Not going to necessarily be sustainable long term, but the point that I'm making here is don't meditate just so you can take drugs. It's attaching the meditation to something that's important. It's like anything. If there's a behavior that you need to be engaging in, practicing, demonstrating, or doing, and you're not, then there's a motive issue, there's a motivation issue, and that motive is the reason for. And if there's not a range of neurological associations connected to the reason for, the motive to, then you just won't. And so for me, it's like, what's important in your life? Family? Okay. And riddle me this, Batman. Give me 500 reasons why meditation will make you a better mother, father, brother, sister, auntie, husband, wife, parent, you know, spouse, all of the above, because it will. And if that's important to you, then you'll find meditation will, you know, people say, oh, I'd love to be able to sleep. Or how important is sleep? It's really important. Well, okay, if you meditate every day, you'll sleep better. And then you find out how important is sleep really. I've got so many friends and clients who have said, you know, they've gone through the process, trouble sleeping, high stress, you know, anxiety, panic, in some cases, you know, to an extreme level. And I introduced them to Vedic meditation. 3 months later, different person. Sleeping better, not as stressed, not snapping at people, life's great. Another 3 months later, they're back where they were. And you say it, and they're like, so what's going on? Oh, I'm not sleeping well. Oh, this is going, that's going. You're still meditating? Oh, no, I just haven't got the time. And it's like this oblivious, off-the-hand statement to, you know, I'm back to not sleeping, and I can't understand why. So, well, you know why. It's just not important enough for you to sustain and maintain. Motivation is easy when you know yourself. And the more you know yourself, the more you understand motivation. What's important? Attach it to that. Not once, 500 times. 500 neurological associations and references, and all of a sudden you'll find what's called an impulse. Oh, now I feel compulsively wanting to do this. For me, I compulsively want to meditate because I have attached it consciously and unconsciously to so many aspects of my life, to parenting, to speaking, to high neurological function, to flow state, you know, to communication, to energy, to immunity. Like there are so many things that I go, fuck, tick, 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 tick. I can't not. And so as a result, do I not meditate? Yeah, sometimes I don't meditate. Sometimes I might go a couple of weeks without meditation. But it's like when you don't train for a couple of weeks, you start feeling sluggish. You start feeling, your brain starts to feel fat. You know, your brain starts to feel sluggish and you go, whew. And then you go and you sit down and you have one meditation and you're like, it's like going to the gym for the first time in 2 weeks, like, fuck, I needed that. And you go, baby, I'm back. Why would I give this up? Do it for 3 months and then tell me you don't want to do it. Do it for 3 months and then tell me it doesn't work. Just do it for at least 3 months and then decide whether or not you want to meditate.
There you go. Well, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Bless you, brother. May all of your blessings come true. May you have extreme levels of omnipotence in your ability to impregnate women.